Hi there, welcome to my class. I'm Dr. Ganesh Kumar from India. Last class we discussed about IPv4 in this video. If you don't watch that video, I'll give the link in the description. You can watch that video. So in this class we are going to discuss about the Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol, DHCP protocol. So this DHCP protocol, normally in IPv4 we have seen that it is a 232 address spaces. So 2 to the power of 32 addresses can be used with IPv4. So now in this DHCP protocol, which is going to support for a network admin to assign an address, we all know that there are two types of addresses. One is a static address, another one is a dynamic address. The static address is which is going to be assigned to a particular system for a single address. With that address, that particular device can able to exchange that information. If it is going to be in a dynamic address, it means that dynamically the addresses are going to be assigned to your devices. So I may be connected to this time, I'm getting one address, my server, whichever the service provider who is going to assign one address. With that, I'm going to exchange some data from my device. When I'm disconnecting it, and again if I'm going to connect to that particular server, then immediately I may get new addresses. That address may not be equal what I got in the earlier addresses. So in this case, the IP addresses are going to be assigned by the system admin, by the network admin. In this case, by allocating these addresses manually, it is going to be a very tedious task. That is the reason they have developed one protocol that is called it as a Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. This DHCP protocol, which is an address assignment. So the address assignment protocol. So addresses are going to be assigned, can be done automatically using a DHCP protocol. So for that particular network, it may be assigned some set of addresses. Within that addresses, it is going to allocate based on their own protocol, whatever the procedure they have. So which consists of a block of addresses which was assigned by the organization. For example, in my university, whenever I'm going to connect my device to that particular network, then my organization network admin which is going to allocate one addresses. So there may be they may have some X set of addresses they may have. So the network admin is manually assigning addresses to all the individual host or the router. It is going to be a very tedious task. That is the reason this DHCP protocol, which is an application layer program, which uses a client server paradigm. So which also going to support for TCP IP at the network layer, which is going to support for it. Now we can see that how the dynamic host configuration protocol message going to be. Now we will see that how the format of an DHCP, and then how one device can be connected. If one particular device is going to request to that server, then particular device, how it is going to allocate address. That is also we are going to see. So this DHCP message format, if you see that, in this, the first one is an opcode, which is an operation code. Either it is a request or reply. It may have a multiple codes. So each code which is going to specify some of the functions. And then hardware type, so which is going to specify that what is an Ethernet, values, MAC addresses, and then length of that hardware addresses, that is a HLEN, and then maximum number of hops that packet can travel, how many hops it has to travel. Otherwise the packets may circulated inside the network, which may create unnecessary traffic and huge traffic inside the network. And then a transaction ID, and then time elapsed, how much time it has to be requested. Sometimes you may be sending any request which will time out, which if it goes beyond that, if it can't able to provide any of the addresses, then the timeout mechanism will come. And the time elapsed, and then flags, which is for first bit which is going to define as a 0 for unicast, or if it is going to be a 1 means it is going to be a multicast, and totally it is going to be on 15 bits. And then a client IP addresses, which is to be set for 0 whenever it is requesting it, client IP addresses. If I don't have that, if my device is going to request to that server, so that time the source address field which is going to specify that which is going to be a 0, and your IP addresses, the client IP addresses sent by the user, and then server IP addresses. Suppose if it is not, doesn't know that server IP address is also which is going to be mentioned as in 111, and then the gateway IP addresses, the address of a default router, and then server name, boot file name, and then some of the options for the 64 bits. Now we can see that option format, this option format which is going to have a DHCP discover value is going to be 1. That value, if it is going to be 1, means then it is a DHCP discover. If it is a 2, means DHCP offer. 3 means request. 4 means decline. 5 means acknowledgement. 6 means negative acknowledgement. 7 means releasing the connections, and 8 means the inform. Now, how this operation which is going to happen between the client and the server. Let us see that this client wants to connect to that particular server with the help of DHCP. So it wants an IP addresses to communicate. So the server IP address is 191.14.16.170. Now this is going to send that particular device, client is going to send a DHCP discover. It is going to discover some of the addresses, connections. So which is going to mention a transaction ID by default as per the protocol, and then which is going to mention that whatever the address is, the source address, it doesn't know that address. So which is going to mention 0000, and the default address is going to be 255. It automatically understood that it is a broadcast in nature. So which is going to be received by all other devices. So automatically whichever the devices is going to be in a server, which is going to respond it. Now the DHCP, now it is going to offer it. When it is going to offer, which is going to send a lease time also. So how much time you will have this addresses. Suppose that particular system wants to continuously they want to use it. So for a regular period it has to renew the connection so that it can maintain the same addresses, or otherwise the same procedures which is going to be repeated. Now this is going to assign the server is going to offer some, this is your address, and that server address also which is going to be mentioned. So next bottom field is which is going to be by default as per the protocol, the source and destination address with the lease time is 3600. Now DHCP request, so which is going to request it, it means that which is going to, okay, whatever it is offered, which is going to confirm and requesting it again to that server. Now the DHCP server which is going to acknowledge it. Yes, you can go ahead with that. Likewise, the operations of an DHCP which is going to perform between any one client to the server. Now let us see how this protocol which is going to work. So now we can explain with the same concept with the finite state machine for the DHCP client as a client point of view. First initial stage is going to be initial INIT, which is going to be an initially it intend to join to that particular network. So whatever we have earlier before the diagram we have discussed, the DHCP discover first, and then DHCP is going to be offered by the server, and then DHCP request by the client, and then that is going to be requested, and then DHCP acknowledgement. Once the DHCP acknowledgement by the server, then that particular client is bounded to that particular network. So it start exchanging that information. So whatever the lease time which has been given. So the lease time is 3600. So after the 50% of time, so 1800, after the 1800 seconds, then once the 50% of its lease time is expired, then again the DHCP has to request to renew it, to renew the connections. So there is an option that DHCP can acknowledge it. Sometimes if it gets delayed, that 50% goes to 87.5%, then it has to rebinding procedure. So in the rebinding, it has to go rebinding, then again it will goes to a bounded stage so that it can continuously use that connected to that network. Suppose if it goes beyond that, even that goes beyond that, if it is a rebinding process is failed, then automatically it has to go to an very initial starting stage. This is how the entire flow of process. It means that any one devices can be connected to that particular server in the network with the help of DHCP. Next is a network address translation protocol, NAT. This NAT which is going to help the network, to provide local addresses, that is a private addresses, with the universal addresses. Whatever the universal addresses are going to be an real IP addresses. With that address, it can able to get into an internet, and it can able to get, either it can request or it can send some data to one network to the another network. So this NAT technique to map between the private and universal addresses, and to support for virtual private network also. In general, a part of computers in a small network needs to access internet simultaneously. For example, in my university, I may be having 5,000 connections. 5,000 devices are going to be connected. It need not to have all the 5,000 IP addresses. So they may have a 500 global IP addresses, and the remaining 4,500 or the 5,000 local IP addresses the network itself, it can generate it. So that address is going to be assigned to each and every systems in the network. Say for example, my organization is having a 500 global IP address. So one local IP address that may have a 5,000 local IP address. Anyone, whenever I request, then the local IP address is going to be assigned to us. So with that local IP addresses, which is going to maintain, that server is going to maintain which devices has been assigned for which local addresses. So with that local IP address, whatever the communication I want to perform, I used to do that. So once it goes to that particular server or the router, then it is going to check the table, and based on that, which will remove that local IP address, and which is going to insert the global IP address. With that global IP address, the data are going into an internet. At the same time, for that particular addresses, getting a response from an internet and it is coming back, then immediately that router, it can understood that this address, this request belongs to this particular devices. Based on that, which is going to perform. That is what the functions of network address translation. So this NAT allows a site to use a set of private addresses for internal communication and the global addresses for internet. So the global addresses are going to use to communicate to an internet. Now we will see how the NAT is going to work. So from the internet, you see that there is a router and internet. So from the NAT router to internet, there is only one global IP address. That IP address is 200.24.5.8. Whenever the response it comes to an NAT, then it is going to assign a local IP addresses to all other devices here. That address starts with 172.18.3.1, 2, 3, 4 likewise. So whatever the data exchange between 172.18.3.1, whenever it goes to that NAT, which is going to tear off that particular addresses, and the global IP address is going to be inserted, that is going to be sent to an internet. Address translation, that process is called it as an address translation. Now in this diagram, you can see that from the first device 172.18.3.1, which is sending some data. Once it goes to an NAT, then it has to be tear off, and global IP address 200.24.5.8 is going to be inserted. With that address, the data are going to an internet. When it comes back, the 200.24.5.8, so automatically, which is going to maintain a sum of the table. Next slide, we will see what is a table, how the table look like. With that table, this responses belongs to 172.18.3.1. So the same way, which is going to give. This is what an address translation. So this is what the address translation table. This table, how it is going to maintain is what is a private address, what is a universal address for that particular devices which has been assigned. Central part, which is mentioned that a table, with that table which is going to send and receive the data. So totally this table should contain 5 columns The first column is the private addresses, the second column is the private port, and the third column is an external addresses, global addresses, and then external port, and then fifth is a what is the protocol that particular data it belongs to, whether it is a TCP protocol or UDP protocol or whatever the protocol. This is how it is going to maintain a table and use that NAT protocol. So let me recap that. So today in this lecture we have seen that the dynamic host configuration protocol we have discussed, and the network address translation. So in this DHCP protocol, dynamically which is going to assign addresses to the local devices. Say for example, any one organization is there, so whatever the local devices, all that addresses are going to be assigned by the DHCP protocol. So manually assigning is a too difficult task for a network admin, so automatically which is going to assign. And the next is the network address translation protocol, is which is going to provide the extra connections, which is going to provide a large number of computers can be connected to single network with the help of NAT. So this NAT which is going to have an local addresses, private addresses, and the global addresses. The global addresses are going to be an internet IP addresses which is going to communicate to an internet. The private addresses which is going to be maintained by the local server. So whenever the request comes from the local devices with a private addresses which has to be removed, which has to be translated by the universal IP addresses, and the request will goes to an internet. The same way which is going to maintain a table, the network address translation table, which consists of 5 columns, which both it is going to have a private address, private port, external address, external port, and then what the protocol it belongs to. I hope you understand this concept of DHCP protocol and NAT protocol. If you have any queries, you please type it in my chat window. I'm happy to respond to your queries. If you don't subscribe to my channel, please subscribe to my channel to watch my videos. Have a great day. Thank you.